we're going to talk about the bar system today, specifically what we're going to go over. You may know some of this information that I'm going to go over, but I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page with all the various features that are available in the bar system. So we're going to talk about what bars does and how it relates to Linnell. We're going to do an overview of the request process, the approval workflow, and the levels. And then we're going to go into the actual system itself and just briefly talk about the layout and navigation, what some of the menu options are. Even if you don't use all of these menu options, I just want you to be aware of them and how other people will use them. And then we'll talk about the admin menu, which is probably more specific to public safety than it is to the rest of the university. So kind of as a quick bit of history, so to speak, is BARS was developed around 2019 with the specific intention to automate the building access process in order to help you, public safety, to hopefully alleviate some of the work that needs to be done, and also to ensure that everyone has access to the correct location so that we don't have to worry about people entering buildings that they shouldn't be entering. So that's really what the impetus was behind the bar system. From what I was told, it was a much more manual and rudimentary process to give people access before the bar system was created. With all that being said, it is the front end application that was developed by web development that allows users to request access and then approvers can approve. Excuse me. A user's access level will determine what they can view, the various menu options and reports. I have the same access as public safety does, so we can see everything. Other end users won't see necessarily everything based on what their access level is. And then it allows you, public safety, to maintain who the approvers are, the locations, and also query information as needed via different reports that are in the system. That information that's in BARS is then fed into Linnell. We're not reviewing the Linnell system, but it is a part of the building access system. Linnell is a third-party vendor that actually assigns access to our users' one cards to the various locations they should be able to access. So the information in BARS is fed into Linnell. As approvers approve requests, that information is transferred to Linnell, and then users should be able to access the buildings they need to based on that. That upload process runs approximately every 15 minutes, so it's a pretty regular process to help make sure that that access is given as needed. As I said, the BARS came into or was created about 2019. So just be aware that what's in BARS, it's only what's been entered in the BARS system, or whatever has been entered in the BARS system since 2019 should match Linnell. There is information prior to 2019 won't be in the BARS system. Again, high-level overview of what the request and approval process is. Again, if you already know this information, I apologize. I just like to make sure everyone's on the same page. But the request and approval process is pretty straightforward. The user or the user's manager, in most cases, will submit their request form to give access to a particular individual. Then it will go through the appropriate approvers for the selected locations. Level 2 is the final approval, and all locations must have at least one Level 2 approver. Level 1 is optional. It's often used for larger locations that have more requests. So if there is a Level 1 approver, they'll receive the request first, and then once they approve it, it'll go to Level 2 for their final approval. Okay, so we're going to pull up the actual BARS system itself. If you have any questions as I go, just please go ahead and interrupt me and ask your questions. I'm used to people being on individual computers and they can raise their hand, but just since you're in a conference room, please, like I said, feel free just to go ahead and ask your questions. Okay, I am going to share my screen. Bear with me one moment here. Now I can see the two of you a little bit better now that my PowerPoint's gone. Okay, let me get everything up. Okay, So this is the bar system. Again, I'm assuming that you are familiar with the application, that you've been in it before. It does default to the queue, but again, all these menus that we see here, you would have the same set of menus based on your access level as public safety. I'm going to start over with the forms menu. I'm going to keep this review relatively brief, but the forms menu contains three different forms. The primary form that most of us are familiar with is the actual building access form. Again, I can fill out a form for myself or for someone else. Pretty straightforward. If it was for someone else, I would search, but I selected all myself. And I can just come in here and filter based on the area which is, various locations on campus. And then from there, I can select up to 5 locations. I would like to mention certain things just so if anyone ever asks you a question around this, you'll know what the answer is. But one thing we always like people to be aware of is that the request notes is for any special circumstance or situation that the requester may want to let us know. It is not for additional buildings or for building access requests. So like if they have 6 locations, they would need to fill out a second request form. They should not put additional buildings into the request notes area. To show you all and just to make sure you're aware of this too, if I were filling this out for someone, I'm actually going to use Scott Steffen, who's in School of Medicine. The School of Medicine form is a little bit different. And the primary reason for that is that just due to the size of the School of Medicine, when a person applies for access, it's not just based on the location, it's based on the department that they work for. The department they work for will have pre-approved locations that they will be given access to. So if I come in here and select a School of Medicine location, there may be 3 or 4 other locations that they're also given access to automatically, just again, because of the size, that we can't have every single building and every single location with a set of separate approvers. So they kind of lump all of a set of locations underneath one department. So the first portion of this form is for School of Medicine locations, but we can also give users access to other areas on campus. And this lower section works exactly the same as the other form does. It's once they select the location, the specific approver for that location would be able to approve. And then once you click submit, it's going to submit the request, and it would show up in the queue for the pending requests. The other 2 forms that are listed, just to let you know, so the temporary access form is relatively self-explanatory. If someone needs access for a temporary time frame, that's the form that would be filled out. The special report request, this is if someone has a special or unique situation where they need a report, they would be able to fill out the information here, and then underneath the admin menu is where the special report queue appears. So public safety, if anyone ever fills out this form, public safety will receive an email letting them know, and they can go and check the special reports queue. The queue is really primarily for approvers. Public safety doesn't have much to do with the queue, but obviously this is going to show all pending requests, and you can see where they are in the process. If it's just recently submitted, so it's going to show as pending, and then whether it's level 1 approved, level 2, and then also completed will appear in this queue. There are sometimes additional statuses that will appear based on entitlement reviews. Once an entitlement review is done, what we might see removed as a status, that if the approver marks that someone should be removed, that's when we'll see that. Or possibly terminated is another status that will sometimes show up. Again, for the most part, public safety doesn't really have to do anything with this queue, but just want you to be aware of it and the different items that you'll find there. Some other reports to be aware of. There is a badge swipes report. So if I wanted to go in and look at, I work in the bar center, for example, if I want to see who came in on a particular date, or if my employee was supposed to be in, I wasn't sure if they were there or not, I can come and look at the badge swipe report to determine if they were on campus or not. The Linnell Access Report. So this will pull information from Linnell. The one thing, this might not be something that you directly would have anything to do with, but one of the things I know that is encouraged, we encourage public safety to do, but I'm based on feedback I've gotten so far, I am actually going to talk to our people in web development to see if they can go ahead and push this through themselves. But one of the things that can be done here is we have this option for access still needing review by location. What this shows is, this is pulling directly from Linnell. This is data, and this report is, I'm gonna pull up HSL real quick. By pulling up HSHSL, what this is going to show, so it's saying access still needing review by location. What that means is that I want this to catch up with me first, is the people that show up on these reports were given access in Linnell before the BARS system was put in place. And the desire is for the information not to appear here, which means that our level 2 approvers, we want them to pull this report and look at their locations and pull the reports and then go through and confirm or revoke access. For example, I've been at the university since 2007. And I've always had access to HSHSL because that's where my office used to be located. And you'll see that I appear here. So it's saying that my access should be reviewed. And it's only because I've been in the Linnell system since well before the BARS system existed. And then, for example, we also have, I know there's someone on this list, Carol Thomas, who's retired. And, because she was in here all before the BARS system, her information still appears. So public safety does have the ability to ask the level 2 approvers to review this. But again, I'm also going to talk to our side and see if they can push through that review to level 2 approvers. The other reports, you can view the Lobby Guard report and also various School of Medicine approval reports and department location reports if needed to see who's entered those locations. Okay, next item is review needed. So this is an entitlement review. Again, this is not something that public safety is responsible for, but the entitlement reviews are done periodically, and the level 2 approvers are responsible for this queue. They will receive an automatic notification based on the locations that they are responsible for. In a little bit, I'm going to show you where you can set the frequency, but like certain locations might have to do it annually, every 18 months, every 2 years, but locations need to be reviewed periodically to determine if everyone who's listed as having access should actually have access. And again, they'll receive an email and be able to come in here and review this and make any changes if they need to as necessary. And then we, of course, have the search, which is we can look for pending access requests. If the queue perhaps is too long and someone needs to look a little bit more specifically, or maybe there's an issue and public safety wants to look for a pending request, they can look here, but you can look for based on these various pieces of information, including last name, and so on and so forth. So this just allows to see what pending requests presently exist. There's also upload multiple. The main thing I wanted to kind of stress here is this is used primarily for like the beginning of semesters when there's going to be a big group of students who are all going to be coming on campus at the same time. The various departments that need to set up access for those students they'll do it via an upload multiple, which is filling out an Excel spreadsheet. What has been stressed to me, and again, this is not something that public safety ever has to directly handle, but like, again, it's one of those things in case anyone asks a question of you, hopefully you can answer the question. These directions are very, very specific, and if they aren't filled out exactly as these directions state that they should be, the upload won't work. And it does go to web development that they had to review and figure out why it's not working. And oftentimes it's just that there's something in the way the spreadsheet was set up that wasn't done correctly. And that's what's keeping the spreadsheet from uploading. So just this bottom line is users should really follow these directions very specifically to make sure it will work. Okay, now I want to pop over to the admin menu, which is really the menu that I think public safety probably uses more frequently than any of the other areas within BARS. It starts off with the action required queue. If items appear in this queue, and actually let me show, I have a, let me pull my PowerPoint over just to show it real quick. I got lucky one day when I clicked on that and there was actually an item in there. There's all these tips are listed in my screenshot. They don't appear unless there is an item that is in the queue. Basically, if an item appears in this queue, it's usually an issue with Linnell. If an item is listed, there's three primary scenarios that will bring something to appear on in this queue. Denied is one. So any denied requests will appear if they were denied in Linnell because the corresponding location isn't found in BARS. So what would need to be done is you would need to check Linnell to ensure that the person doesn't have access. And if they definitely don't, then we would probably need to resubmit their access into Linnell to give them access to the correct location that they wanted. Viewing the update locations report is recommended to determine if it needs to be added in BARS. So that might be a part of the problem too, is if they haven't been given access in Linnell, it might be that the location doesn't exist in BARS and wasn't selected properly. There's also multiple upload requests. If they will also sometimes appear here until the level 2 approver approves them. If multiple uploads are still appearing here after a few days, we do suggest that public safety informs the level 2 approver to make sure that they go in and approve those requests. And there's also review past 60 days. So anything that will appear here, if access wasn't confirmed by the approver during the 60-day review time frame, and the matching location couldn't be found. So again, we would encourage you to check Linnell to ensure that the person doesn't have access. And it's an interesting, it's kind of, I have another screenshot here that this is, if you click on the edit, this is what appears. This is more about going into Linnell, reviewing the information in the Linnell and determining what the problem is. And once the problem has been determined, in this specific queue, all you need to do is just click submit. That just kind of is the notation that, yes, we've checked Linnell, we know what the problem is, the problem will be fixed. And then if you hit submit, that will kind of let the BARS side of the equation know that the problem is being handled. So let me go ahead and delete that out of the way. So that is the action required queue. The next item on the admin menu is notifications. This is just how public safety can send notifications. You can do it based on level 2 approvers, level 1 approvers, or department approvers for School of Medicine. Obviously the subject, and then you can really narrow down. It says which reviewers should receive. So you can select limit based on location. So as you select these options down here, it'll give you additional options on how you can narrow down who you're going to send the notification to. If public safety wanted to send out a notification to level 2 approvers about checking that access still needing review, for example, under the Linnell report underneath reports, this would be the perfect way to do it. So that's the notifications option. We do have a couple other reports that are available. So there's access by location report. You can, as it says, you can look at access based on a specific location. With this particular report, again, there's anything from before 2019 is not going to appear. So this is only going to be what is in BARS is what you're going to pull on this report. We definitely recommend that you narrow down by the date, because there's a lot of information, and by narrowing it down by date, it'll just kind of it will initiate the report a little bit quicker. There is another report which you can, there's a bunch of different options. There's level 1 approved, level 2, and so on and so forth. With these reports, when I was working with the system, you actually do have to put in a start date and end date for any of these reports. If you try to do one of these reports without a start or end date, it won't let you do that. So these are a couple of your other report options. Okay, so repush bars access to Linnell. This is a relatively new feature in the admin menu. I know it was Tricia Kaufman added it within the last month or two. Basically, this gives public safety the ability to search for a person, confirm that their proxy number is accurate. So basically, if access hasn't been created for them yet, and it's not clear why they haven't been given access, because you know that the access request went through, by searching for their name, confirming that the proxy number is accurate. If both of those, if you're able to find them and their proxy number is accurate, it could just be that their request needs to be pushed again. I unfortunately don't have an example that I can enter in here, but once you enter the name and select search, there's a button that you'll be able to push to help push through that access again. I think that was a relatively regular occurrence. So that's why this particular option was added to the admin menu to hopefully help get around that issue of requests not going through. Excuse me. This is the special reports queue, which I mentioned before, relates to the, under form, sorry, under the special report request. So you can go to a special reports queue, and you'll see there actually is a report request in here that public safety would have been received an email notification. And I don't know exactly how you all handle this queue and if there are specific people responsible for it, but because there is a report in or a request in here, someone would need to go in and review it. I think April was in my class session earlier today, and she said that these reports have to be requested by level 2 approvers, that level 1 approvers, they won't do reports for that level. That was just, yep. Do you have a question?
I was agreeing with April.
What was that?
I was agreeing with April.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. I know the microphone's not clear.
You said it was sure. What April said was sure.
I don't know why. No, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm not understanding. I can't hear you. I mean, I can hear you, but it's not coming through clearly. I apologize. It was about this report you were asking him?
April.
Yeah, what about April?
She said was correct.
Oh, you're saying, gotcha. Okay, yeah, thank you. I'm sorry. It's been one of those days, right? Thank you. Okay. Okay, so the next one is temporary access report. Pretty straightforward. If you need to pull a report to see who has requested temporary access to a location. So update locations, based on some additional, I'm going to actually be submitting some requests to web development to hopefully make a couple enhancements to some of the things that we see here. I think that this does have a search. There were a couple other things that we looked at that did not have a search. We're going to ask to have search fields added to some other areas, but building locations. This is where you can manage and update the list of active locations. This is where, when I talked about that entitlement review, this is where you can go to set or change the entitlement time frame. But basically this is, so if I click on edit next to any one of these buildings, you'll see that like right now, for the first administrative building, the entitlement review is every 2 years. Once I click on edit, I'll be able to go in here and I can change the frequency if necessary. I'm not going to click on submit on that. And you can also add new locations, which is just, oh, shucks. I always like to go back to the last thing I was on. Update location. So if I say, it's really at the very bottom of this list is where the add location information is. But luckily, when I was looking at this system, I was like, I had no idea how to add a location. So they just did a quick, just a quick link to the bottom of the page. But this is where you can add a new location. And it would have to be, you'd use the Linnell access levels in order to link it to the appropriate location in Linnell. Okay. So the next reviewers, this is an area where I feel that maybe hopefully we can make some improvements because there are a lot of options here that would love to see get streamlined. But if reviewers need to be updated or added, this is where you would go. Excuse me one second. My dog likes to hang out with me until she doesn't want to hang out with me. So this is where you can go to review the reviewers that are in the system. The change in the status is just whether they're active or inactive, and then you can add a new reviewer from this screen. So this is just adding the reviewer. That's all that it's doing. It's not adding any locations or their approval level. And that's what I do want to talk to our web development team about, is kind of condensing this process, because I think it's a lot of different steps that need to be taken where I feel like it could kind of all be condensed into at least one menu option, if nothing else. But once a reviewer is added here, you then have to go and assign them to their appropriate locations or departments. So assign reviewers to one location, or assign reviewers to multiple locations. And then, of course, we have our School of Medicine assignment menus that you can go in to assign them to specific School of Medicine departments. If I select, just briefly, I can come in here, just select a building, and then I can go and check a name. This is one of the areas where I think we want to see if we can perhaps add a way to search, because as I'm sure you're aware, like, this is a really long list of approvers. It would be nice to be able to search for them by name. But this is where I would be able to give access to Administrative Building 620 by just checking the names here. So relatively straightforward. To multiple locations, you actually would select the reviewer's name and then check the location. So again, I would love to see these options condensed into one. I'm going to see if that's possible. But then, so step one is adding the reviewer. Step two is assigning the reviewer to the correct locations or departments. And then you have to go in and assign their level. And that is also done by location, which I understand the logic behind that, because one person may not necessarily have the same level of access to all locations that they're responsible for. However, again, I would like to see that this is, if we can create a flow that will make all of this a little bit easier. But I would come here, and again, I could select appropriate building, and this will show the approvers who have been assigned to that building. And this is where I can come in and assign them the appropriate level of approval. So if someone newer here, their name would appear, I would be able to select change level and give them either level 1 or level 2. Again, a number of different steps and a number of different menus. We're going to see what we can do to condense that information. The final set of information down here is granting badge, swipe access, lobby guard, and SOM admin access. All very similar in logic. And then so I can grant access to someone new if I need to. And one thing I discovered, because I did this to myself by accident, where it says update badge swipe report, I know it says it right here, but like, click on the name if you want to remove access. I clicked on my name, and I kind of assumed that by clicking on it, it would then give me the option to remove access. No, just clicking on my name removed access. So I lost access to the bar system with that one click. That's actually another area where I would like to see perhaps that this can be improved so that the one click doesn't remove someone's access. But this is where I could go if I needed to remove someone's access. And again, I can also grant it. And the same with the lobby guard and the SOM admin. And finally, there are some resources here. From what I've seen how it works, I would like to see some at some point when I have a chance, I'm going to go through this information in more detail and see how we can improve it. I don't think it's necessarily as helpful as it could be. But I'd like to be able to put more information in here so that if you do have questions about the various areas within the bar system, and specifically, and I know we have a public safety tutorial, which I think talks a little bit more about the admin menu and so forth. I would like to add information to this to hopefully help answer questions that may come up periodically and also help address when issues arise. I know that there are issues that come up that I've heard from, I heard from April that she gets a lot of emails overnight, and I know that, kind of determining where the problems are when the access isn't being appropriately assigned. We're looking to improve on that with the resources menu. But so this is kind of the overview of the bar system. Do either of you have any questions for me?
No questions.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I just have a suggestion in reference to resources. Can it also be a video tutorial?
Are you like kind of like what I just did, or like a more specific tutorial?
A little bit more specific, so it could be, there can be like for someone who likes to read, but also like audio or visual.
Yeah, I will, that's something we can definitely consider. I think what I want to do is, like I said, when I have a chance, is looking at the resources that exist, see how we can improve them, and then see where we can add in some. Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to do a tutorial. I think that would make sense, especially to help people who are new to public safety get up to speed on what the bar system does. But yeah, I will add that to our list.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you both very much. I don't know if you're at the beginning of your shift or at the end. Either way, I hope you have a good rest of the day.
And you too.
Thank you too.
Thank you.